Fellow tennis nerds, today I'm here with a guy I got to know in Paris, actually, through a head event. We went there together. He's very active on Instagram. He has a great resource for coaching tips and other things. Dylan G, he's based in London, and he's always active. You always see him. He's like modeling, he's doing tennis coaching, and he's used to play as a pro. So welcome to the podcast, Dylan.
Thank you very much, Jonas. And great to speak to you online, and looking forward to this talk with you.
So how has your day been? What's your summer like? You don't vacation. You always seem to be on a tennis court somewhere.
Well, this is vacation for me. I love being on court, and it doesn't change too much, to be honest. I mean, if I do need some time off, then I will take the necessary time. But usually, for what I do in the coaching work, it's pretty busy. I work 6 days a week, about 40 to 45 hours a week, roughly. And then the social media, all of that side is on top of everything as well. But in due time, hopefully I can take more of the social media as the front runner for what I would like to do long term.
So what's your plans? What do you feel like you're most enjoying yourself? Like you seem to be comfortable in all areas there, but where would you see yourself maybe in 5 years?
So short term, I'd like to actually do more things online. My biggest goal is to help the wider tennis community. So if I can go to network at more events, travel the world and help academies, individuals and things like that would be a big goal of mine. I find that social media was my biggest pathway into helping more people. I do love what I do here at the club that I'm at, but I feel like if I want to really help a wider audience, I would need to travel a bit more and then use the power of social media to help me with that.
What club are you based at?
So I'm based in North London, David Lloyd's Finchley. It's a branch, and we have 10 indoor courts. We have 6 outdoor courts actually. So it's a very big club. We have a spa, gym, pretty amazing facilities, but it's not a tennis club so much. It's like a leisure center. So with the other activities that you can do here, it's mainly for the general public. It's not really a performance place, even though I do have some performance players, some national players actually, but they're a bit younger, and some university players. So I think it's a nice balance. I get a feel for the different ages and abilities.
What do you think is your coaching sweet spot? Do you prefer coaching kind of like intermediate or even beginners, or do you really like to work with performance players and try to be more on that kind of competition side of things?
So I like the balance, actually, if I'm honest. I think my content and what I mainly do meets the needs for the general public. So like a beginner to intermediate person as opposed to a professional. But I've started reaching out to a few pros and even sparring again and playing myself, which is a lot of fun. So actually doing that, it makes me, it just challenges me in a different type of way. So I think if I can keep that nice balance, then for sure I'd like to carry that on. And maybe if I were to travel globally, then I could network with even more people. But I would like to do maybe a bit more sparring and hear the stories of some futures, challengers, even ATP, WTA players. I mean, I think tennis is such a challenging sport, but it's also taught so many life skills to me. And I think I'd like to hear it from other people as well. So I think if I can travel, and hopefully in the future, then for sure I'd like to get those messages across to people via my social media.
Do you, you used to play and go for pro. Do you still, you're quite a young guy still, right? So would you want to go back to competing, or is that life behind you?
So good question. So I felt like, let's start with why I stopped. I actually was studying in America. I had a Division I scholarship at a university in Alabama. And I was looking to actually take my tennis more seriously instead of focusing on the studies at that present time. So after the 2 years, I was looking at a few other universities, but the fees were very expensive. So I thought, maybe I might have to stay at that university, but focus even more on my tennis while trying to play futures and travel a little bit further. And I actually found a sponsor at the club I'm at, David Lloyd's. So that kind of gave me the opportunity to say, if I want to play professional tennis, this would be like a stepping stone for me. I would probably never be able to afford that. So I took that decision and decided to play professional tennis and travel to Germany to play at an academy and go full time, where I did about just under 30 tournaments in about a year, gaining ATP points in singles and doubles, meeting some amazing people, training with high-level pros as well, and just getting the experience of what it's like on the Futures Tour. And yeah, it was an amazing opportunity. I felt like if I could have played longer, I definitely would have. For me, the biggest thing was I couldn't see myself coaching and playing. I felt like I wanted to give it my absolute all and just only play. I think it probably would have been a bit selfish of me to carry on playing and then rely on other sources of income, or maybe not have enough to make ends meet and maybe only do 10 tournaments, maybe 15 tournaments in a year. I felt like I didn't want to drag it out. I wanted to go full out with my tournament schedule. I wanted to just focus on the professional career route. Actually, before I came back to my studies in England, I went to Qatar and I was training one of the best boys actually in under 12s in Qatar. He was a young Syrian boy. He's actually playing on the Futures Tour right now. His name's Tim, and I think he's got his first ATP points actually. So he's doing well, and nice to see the progressions for him. But for me, I felt like I wanted to go down the route of coaching because I was so passionate about wanting to help other people. And when I was playing professional tennis around 2016, that's when I started posting on social media, when functional tennis was only in the thousands of their following, and now they're 600,000 plus. So I felt like I already got a little bit more known in the tennis community through social media, and that's what carried on throughout my university studies in England, and then thereafter. I mean, throughout university in England, I did 3 years. I was still competing, but I was working full time as well while studying. So I was playing against ex-ATP ranked players, guys that like 400, 500, and holding my own, but not obviously performing to the same level. But I really enjoyed that aspect. But I took it upon myself to really focus and knuckle down on my coaching. Throughout when I was playing professional, I really loved the S&C aspects of tennis, and my original goal was to be a strength conditioning coach. So I did my level 4 strength conditioning qualifications, and I focused heavily on the on-court movement. That was a particular strong point of mine. And for the likes of even Holger Rune, we were following each other when he was about 13, 14, 15 years old, and to see how well he moved at that young age, it really inspired me to want to pursue that career. But I think I just fell in love with the on-court tennis aspects even more. So that's what I wanted to pursue even more after that. But yeah, I do like playing still, not competing in tournaments. I think just due to my coaching schedule, it doesn't always allow me to have that flexibility. And no, I'm just very passionate at just helping other people.
I saw you posted something on YouTube where you were coaching like a female WTA pro, an aspiring WTA pro, for example, and it's quite interesting to see, the kind of drills you're doing and stuff like that. And is that something you would want to do more, like actually get some tour player to work with, even if it's not full time, but maybe part time or something?
Definitely, I think that's another aspect that I want to use. I want to maximize that I'm still capable to play at a good level, and so I can be a sparring partner. I can be a backboard to WTA players, even some ATP players as well. Anyone that's looking to want to play, and then I can give maybe some pointers for coaching as well. But I feel like if I can sustain a decent level when playing, at least for my clientele that I have and young kids, they will at least see that, okay, Dylan is actually still competing and playing at a good level, rather than, I think it's also actually, when you think of playing, if you haven't actually played any matches or you haven't sparred and trained, you kind of fall out of that practice rhythm and the mental aspects of being on court. I did play a match actually this year for the first time in a long time, and I was making mistakes thinking, okay, why did I choose to go down the line on that shot? And so I was thinking as a coach, but I was dissecting my own game in the moment. It was very interesting. So I have a different perspective.
When you are in these situations, which let's say you're playing a match, you will have to figure out problems, and then you can help the players who are encountering the same problem. So I think it's important also to be not too far away from the competition when you're coaching competition players. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. So I agree with that. When it comes to like coaching like club level players or people like that,
Definitely.
what's like the most common problem you see, or do you have like like one that's very, very common that you could give like as a tip to people listening that are playing on the club level?
Definitely. I would mainly point out the fact of if the feet are not in the right position, then it's much harder to actually make a play on the ball. I think the positioning of where you stand in the court and how you actually move your feet, it just depends on, let's say, if you're playing outdoors and it's a bit windy and you don't adjust your feet correctly, then you're never going to make a clean contact with the ball. So it all starts with the feet. And as I always state, tennis is played from the ground up. It's through the kinetic chain and making sure that you do the fundamentals right. In order to get to the ball, you need to move with your feet. You can't just rely on just purely great hand skills and good coordination. A lot of what I see is you have a racket in your hand, so everyone wants to start with that and use that, which is fine if you're stationary and the ball's coming towards you. But tennis is a highly complex sport, and there's a lot of different moving body parts. So in order to be balanced, in order to set your feet correctly, you have to do a lot of things before you actually hit the ball. So I'm a big believer in just making sure that you get just those fundamentals correct. And then when you have set yourself ready, then you can strike through the ball a lot easier.
Partly you've done some modeling. Is that something you want to keep doing? And what's your experience in general of working with different companies? Because it obviously comes with a different type of challenge, working with different brands.
That's right. So in terms of, I'll talk about sports modeling first, and then brand collaborations later. So sports modeling, something I've been doing for about 4 or 5 years now. I have an agency in London, and they would send me on jobs all around the world, working with some of the biggest brands such as On Running and Adidas, Gymshark, Dyson. So, I mean, I think it's definitely given me good confidence, and networking opportunities have been incredible. So, working with some incredible photographers and just putting myself outside of my comfort zone a lot. I'm a big believer in just putting yourself out there and just doing. I think that was kind of my thought process when wanting to play professional tennis. Likewise, in the sports modeling, I think working with a brand like On Running was a very, very cool experience. We did big jobs here in England as well as Tenerife, and even went to Bulgaria as well for a campaign, which the pictures and videos have been shown globally around the world for their new On Running shoes, like the Cloud Monster, for example. So, yeah, working with different brands like that, it gave me a lot of good confidence in basically myself, meeting other people as well. Like I said, the networking opportunities. And it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun as well, getting to travel and work with many different brands. But I think, I'll see how long I can do that for, to be honest. I think it could be an age thing, could be a looks thing, maybe. So time will tell on that part. But in terms of the brand collaborations for social media, it's definitely been picking up in recent years. And that's something I would like to work towards even more. I think what my goal is to work with brands that I would resonate with. So likewise with shoes, for example, I've stuck with one brand, Asics, for many, many years, and they're my favorite shoe. So in order to work with a brand like that is an amazing thing for me. And I'm very grateful for opportunities like that. And I think if you really follow a brand and you like their products, I think actually working with them as well helps you to really get the name out there for these types of brands. And I've been collaborating with many other brands as well. I'm going to do some racket reviews on various other rackets that I've never even tried before, not really heard much about. So I've seen you've been doing a few with the new Yonex rackets as well. Those are very nice, I must say. I've yet to try Yonex. When I'm doing the sports modeling, that is strictly just using your image and your athletic ability. So I've done a lot of running jobs and tennis jobs. So they're purely picking you on just looks and abilities. Whereas for the brand deals and collaborations, that's more so on the fact of your skill set, your personality. So I do enjoy the brand collaborations a lot more because you can add your personal touch. I went to a few events around Wimbledon, and I got to add my own little twist to a few different jobs and meeting amazing people and them getting to know me, the person behind the camera. So it's not just tennis with Dylan; it's actually everything about me, basically. So I find that is a nice little touch in comparison to the sports modeling world, which can be a little superficial, I must say, because it's just okay. We booked you for this job. Can you do this running style or technique for us? And these are the exact pictures that we want to get. So
Yeah.
that's it. Just promote their product or their release of whatever they're doing. So I think it's given me a lot of good opportunities, opened a lot of new doors, and it's been a pretty cool experience for myself. I think I've been, yeah, been pretty grateful for the job that I've had, and very fortunate to go to quite a lot of amazing events. I mean, collaborated with the brand Mofi and Zag, and we went to the IMG house with Ashley, the tennis mentor, and we got to meet, I mean, some of the best pros in the world you could ever imagine. So actually speaking to someone like Alcaraz, he's very humble and he's like a kid. Honestly, he's such a nice guy. You're shaking hands with him, just having a joke and a chat, and he's playing spikeball. He's a formidable player, and I think he's destined for very big things on tour. I think the only other guys that I would say right now that would match him is potentially like a Yannick Sinner or a Holger Rune. I think those two are pretty young and feisty tennis players. Um, I am excited to see what the future holds, but I think it's very exciting for sure.
You told me your strengths are movement, and you're interested in that because you wanted to go into strength and conditioning. And I think, the movement of, you mentioned Rune before, that's pretty impressive to say the least. But Alcaraz is even more crazy because he's so explosive in the way he prepares and the way he lunges himself into the ball. And I think it's just a sign of where tennis is going. Do you think there is an issue with tennis being more and more explosive, that more injuries will come, like that they will be injured earlier in their career, for example, than if you go 10, 15 years back?
Yeah, without a doubt. I think if the overload of tournaments and the scheduling is not adequate, then I think players could get injured quite frequently. I think with the physicality of matches as well, seeing them going 3 hours, 4 hours, even longer. I mean, it just puts a big toll on your body. I think while you're young and you got fresh legs, you can tough it out for a good 5 years, but then closer towards 30 and 30 plus, I think your body will start to give in certain aspects.
What's been your kind of like schedule? And you're quite into your physical health, obviously. How much do you work out in a week besides your tennis coaching?
So currently I have 2 strength days, and those 2 strength days would consist of one push and one pull day. So I would train about an hour or so in the gym. I like lifting weights. They're not always the most beneficial for tennis players, but for me, I enjoy lifting weights. I like the feeling of it. It really like strengthening my body, and when I see the weights increase, I know that definitely I'm getting stronger. That's my way of thinking of it. But one thing that I'm a big believer in is the mobility and stretching, and that has been an absolute game changer for me. I did have a back spasm not that long ago, maybe 3 months ago now, and that was very debilitating. I wasn't able to move for days, and it was just due to muscle stiffness, just the muscles being overused. Tennis is a very repetition sport, so I think it was me serving. In 1 week I must have hit thousands of serves. Honestly, I was training a player, preparing them for tournaments, and I would go through baskets and baskets of serves.
Today I talked to a guy, Intuitive Tennis, Nicola, who's a great dude, and We
Oh
discussed
yes,
like
yes.
YouTube stuff, how it is dealing with content creation, and he's very good at following data and metrics and stuff like that. Is that something you do as well? Like you're keeping your eyes on like engagement figures and like new followers. And I feel like sometimes if I get too bogged down into that, like I get demotivated and I stop producing stuff that I like to produce, for example.
Yeah, I probably would say I don't actually look too much into the metrics. I mean, sometimes if brands want to see, okay, what percent of your followers are from the United Kingdom, let's say around Wimbledon time, then I will check through. But usually, if I'm checking through a little bit of engagement, definitely YouTube's, I think, a bigger one for that engagement factor, especially when growing or making more engaging videos. I think definitely I should pursue that even more. But no, I'm not too yeah, bogged down on the follow count or anything like that. I'm not trying to grow to be the biggest. I just want to share the best content basically to the wider
Yeah, I
audience
think
for
that's
sure.
that's pretty healthy. You seem like pretty healthy and a smart guy. How important have your parents been in your your upbringing? Seems like a logical question.
Massively. I mean, massively. My mum is a big tennis fan. She's played from a very young age, and fortunate to take her actually to a few tennis events. I took her to Wimbledon to showcase center court and things like that. I said, "Mum, sorry I couldn't play here myself, but here's another trip. I'll take you here instead." But yeah, my mum has been a huge driving force in my tennis, and truly, truly blessed that she could help me along my tennis route. And same with my supportive father as well. Both my parents are chartered accountants, so they're not the typical um, athletic background of people. I mean, my dad played a bit of rugby for his school and things like that in New Zealand, but otherwise, for sure, they've been so supportive and truly grateful that they've literally let me live my passion and turn it into my job. So couldn't be here today without without their huge support.
Do you have any?
So
You have a
yeah,
brother at least. What's your family setup? Do you have other tennis players in your
yes,
family?
yes. So younger brother, he's a tennis coach as well. He played to a decent level as a junior, but not being quite as passionate as myself. But I have his younger sister as well, and she played tennis to a decent level as a junior, but she was more into the art side and being creative. So that's something that she was more passionate about. She's at the University of Arts London, so she's doing illustration and like a graphic design degree. And my brother is pretty creative as well. He has his own clothing line, and he's much more into other things like skateboarding and kickboxing and Muay Thai and things like that. So we all come from very different creative backgrounds, and I think for my own self, I knew from a very early stage that I couldn't do like a 9 to 5 job. I can't sit still. I'm very active, so tennis coaching and I like being in front of the camera as well. And I thought this is a pretty nice avenue to be in.
Yeah, I think that's a good. I mean, realizing it early, I think, is important. Like, what kind of thing do I like? Because when you're in school, you don't have any idea. Like for a lot of the time, most people don't have any idea. If you go to like, okay, I'm a promising tennis player, and you grow up, that's an option. But then obviously you need a backup option, and not everyone wants to be a coach. And you seem to have a very strong passion for coaching. Do you know where that comes from? That passion of like helping people. Is that something you feel like from your parents, or just a way of upbringing, or maybe going even further back in your family tree, or you just always felt that way that you want to be like you want to see other people grow?
Yeah, definitely. So quite interestingly, I mean, I have a very big family. My father's one of six, and my mum's one of 10. So they're very much we're all very family orientated, and they used to have their own little Chinese food shops. So they're always big advocates of helping and giving back to other people. And I thought for me to make a change in this world, um, even though it's through sport, I felt like what I can offer and the knowledge that I've gained over many, many years, I can give to people, even if it's nothing to do with the money. Of course, it's literally just my expertise in the tennis field now. I think has gone to a decent level where I can give back, and I don't need much in return, because I think helping other people is something I'm a big believer in, and I think that more people should be like that in this world. I think there's a lot of hardship in this world, so I think just helping out people in other avenues, playing a sport that I love, and sharing that is something I'm a big believer in.
Yeah, I think like feeling that you can make a contribution somewhere, I think is very important. I think that gives you some purpose, because a lot of people might,
Hmm.
be chasing money. Money gives you no actual purpose. You can use it to do things, but you don't have like a strong purpose due to money. So I think that is it's a very sensible approach, and I think it would be better if that's more of a thing that's maybe taught, or maybe given through schools and education systems, that it's like, okay, this is how can you contribute. It's not about like your career for your own sake, it's how you actually
Hmm.
contribute. Then you can obviously, you will get advantages in life, or enjoy life maybe more if you're successful in your field or whatever, but you can also be, whatever. So it's just like, I think the gratitude and the feeling you get through helping people is very important, and I think it
Definitely.
could be used more. When you're coaching people, do you feel their gratitude? Is that something you see like when they are figuring something out, or is it still like sour faces, or how is that experience for you when you're working with players of all levels?
Yeah, so I find that some people are very responsive, and they take on board everything, and they will go through the process very willingly. Whereas you may get some kids that they just want to be a bit cheeky, and try to do other things that they may enjoy, let's say. So maybe the technical side they may not enjoy so much. They want to play games or joke around with friends. So I think it's about finding the balance. I think, especially when you're working with the younger kids, but even with the adults, let's say, you want to make sure that at the end of the day they enjoy the sport. That's why they're playing. They're playing because they want to have fun. They want to learn a new skill, and that's what you got to go back to. So if you're going too much in depth about, okay, this is the technicalities of exactly how to hit the forehand to the tee, and then everyone's going to be like, oh, this is just getting a bit boring now. I just want to hit a ball, and so you just have to find the balance between that. And I think over time of coaching over quite a few years now, I've gained that experience to find that nice little median.
Do you feel like I noticed in my small coaching experience that it's hard to know how much to pack in, and you overload people with information. You see like, okay, there's 15 things wrong here. so and you see like, okay, the footwork could be better, or you could use your non-dominant arm better, or you could, then it's very hard for me without like any formal coaching training to know what to focus on. Um, do you feel that
Yeah.
instinctively, or had that like it's helped you through your education to understand like, what do I need to impact here, mainly where do I start, and how do I disseminate this into a piece of useful information for the player?
I think where I would start from is, how do players learn? So you can learn through feel, the kinesthetic. You can learn through visual. You can learn through me talking. I think you're trying to find the balance between the different ones. I think a lot more people are more active. They want to actually physically do something, and so if you talk them through it, and they can actually feel like what their arm is doing or where their leg is stepping, that helps them to learn a lot more. And I find that over time, that when people go through the repetition of practicing certain shots or moving in a certain way, then they kind of grasp it themselves. And I like not overloading people with information. I like giving them like small snippets, and I really like it when I just ask them a question. So like, how did that feel? And so they give me their feedback, and they can compute in their own brain maybe what they need to work on, rather than me always overloading them and being like, okay, make sure you have a chopper grip, make sure that your racket's in this position, elbow, da da da, and then they're going to just be like, okay, I don't even remember the first step. So yeah, I try to give them less is more, I believe, small little bite-sized pieces at a time, and ask them questions too, so they can give me their own feedback as well.
What's the kind of stroke you see people struggle the most with? Is it like a one-handed backhand, or is I mean, the serve is an never-ending problem for
Oh,
everyone,
the
right?
serve. The serve for sure. There's so many ways to coach the serve, and it's so complex. I find, yeah, people always come to ask about the serve, and I think to break down the serve, it's very complex. I think most people will not quite see the full service motion through their, let's say, playing days. You need to basically dissect it into certain areas. And one of the most notable coaches I've been following is Dr. Mark Kovacs, and he's got amazing videos on the serve. They call him like the serve doctor, and he helps to break it down a lot as well. And I find that if I'm going to give players tips and stuff for their serve, I also give them exercises as well. I'm a big believer in just doing. They just need to go through the exercises and practice it themselves rather than me just, like I said, just talking through. Other shots, I mean, I've always had a double-handed backhand. That's my favorite shot. But I do think the single-handed backhand is a pretty tricky shot as well, especially when getting pushed back on high, deep balls. Like, can't imagine playing on the clay with a single-handed backhand. That would be a pretty tricky one as well.
Yeah, we actually had that conversation about that. I talked to Grisha from Gladiators YouTube channel the other day, and he pretty bluntly said that he thinks the one-handed backhand is almost like going extinct at some point, soon, because when you're dealing with a guy like, for example, Alcaraz, or, before it was Nadal, who was just pinpointing your one-hander and murdering it with high loopy balls where you can't really generate any power, right? Do you agree with this statement, or you think there's hope for it on the pro level?
I mean, I'm not the tallest guy, but in terms of, unless if you have the stature and physicality for it, it's very hard to deal with those types of balls. I think someone like Dan Evans has done amazingly well. He's pretty unique though in the skill set that he has. His incredible slice backhand and maneuverability on those higher balls as well. So I think there are very very good players. I mean, Tsitsipas and Stan Wawrinka, to name a few, that have quality backhands, even Gasquet. But I'm a big believer in the double-handed backhand. Yeah, it will stay true. I see a bit more on the WTA tour that players have two hands on both sides as well, and I'd love to know your views on that, because I feel like some players even volleying with two hands, and they're pretty solid at the net. But I guess the maneuverability and stuff like that may not be as quick with the one arm. But yeah, what is your views on maybe having two hands on both sides? Interesting.
I think there's definitely cases where that can apply, and I think maybe we will see some evolution of tennis in that sense, because you sometimes you play with people. I hit with a guy the other day who's playing with almost like he was two-handing the slice, right, which looks really strange, but it was quite tricky too, and he had kind of done a good job with it, like for his level. I think he was a tricky side spin slice to it, and he really cut it down because he had help from the other hand as well, or the other arm. And you have guys, obviously, Santoro back in the day was playing double-handed on both sides, and playing a lot of weird shots and stuff that you wouldn't see today. But if you can
reach, maybe.
Yeah, reach is a bit of a problem. But let's say you were playing with a longer racket, 28 inches, for example, and you learn how to hit really well from both wings, because now when the footwork is so good, the players get to balls much faster. Then that extra stability, especially like I watched some doubles. I was in Båstad in the Swedish Open, Nordea, and you see the doubles players, and I saw these Dutch players who are ranked really high. They would amazing touch at the net, like they just put balls away without thinking, even if you came straight at them at a high pace. And a lot of their volleys were actually like double-handed volleys. Like they just used that for extra stability. Yeah, I saw some double-handed volleys there.
Yeah, I saw some really cool video from Jamie Murray. He just did a video about just putting your arms there, literally just getting your racket to the ball and just blocking the ball back. So that was interesting. And I also saw a video on functional tennis. I think the boy's name is Teo. He has two forehands. He has one hand lefty, one hand righty. And I was like, I have never seen this before. This is very unique. So yeah, you're right. Maybe we could see a crop of unique players coming through. Maybe they could change the game. But yeah, let's see.
Yeah, I mean that would be interesting if you see more and more changes. How is tennis doing if we look at your part of London? Do you still see a strong interest? Does it get like competition from, for example, paddle over there, or do you feel like tennis is still doing really well in the UK, for example?
I think certain areas. I think it's to be honest, it is I mean, there are parks and stuff where you can play tennis, but due to the weather and our conditions over here, you need an indoor facility. I mean, it would be very, very difficult to play at a high level throughout the whole year if you're only playing outdoors. I mean, you're subject to getting your balls absolutely soaked, slippery courts, injuries, things like that. I think it's quite difficult. So I think if you were to have an indoor facility accessible, then definitely that can help you. I don't think paddle is going to quite take over here. Neither has pickleball. That's not even come over yet. So I haven't seen anyone playing that. So I think these other sports, not quite yet. Maybe due to the history of tennis here in in England, is pretty high. So not quite yet.
No, I know. Also, it's kind of confidence inspiring that you see as a tennis fan. And Wimbledon seemed to have really high attendance figures this year, and then the tournaments I've gone to seems to have been quite popular, even for like, because usually ATP 250s, you go early days, it's a little bit dead. You know, there is not that packed on the stands. But it looked like Wimbledon, for example, this year when you have the big events like the Slams, seems to have a very good attendance. You know, did you went there one day?
Yes, yes. I went there 2 days actually. The first day was with a brand, and I went the second week on the Thursday actually with my family just for a day out, and we got to see a lot of the juniors. So I got to see some of the top British girls playing, and a few of the boys as well. Which is I even saw Henry Searle actually. He won the boys singles, which was very cool. But I thought, yeah, why people that maybe are not even the biggest tennis fans actually want to come to Wimbledon just for the aspects of just to watch some tennis, have a nice day out. It's beautiful there. I mean, the amount of flowers and the greenery there as well. So it's an overall nice day out. And so even if you're the biggest tennis advocate, I mean, it's just an overall nice day out.
Yeah. I know exactly. So can just enjoy it and have a Pimm's or a drink and or eat a cake. I know you're a big fan of sweets, or generally for a sporty guy.
Yeah, I do have a bit of a sweet tooth.
Yeah,
that's right.
But you don't drink alcohol, so that's kind of compensation.
No. Yeah, true. Yeah, no, I can't drink that. Yeah,
that's actually good.
But otherwise,
how well do you follow like the diet theory, like, you know, thinking about your diet, what you eat, you know, how stuff like that for your tennis, for example?
Yeah, no, I eat pretty clean, to be honest. Yeah, I love my Chinese food and things like that. Um, I don't have a particular dietary thing where I stay away from certain foods and such. I feel like I do need to eat more though, being on court and the physicality is required. I mean, even coaching, even if you're doing a 7+ hour day, you burn a lot of calories. So I think, yeah, I've probably lost a little bit of weight. So I need to pack on with a little bit more food intake. I also think that having some shakes and things like that alongside my training. I know some people use Huel, and they say that's like a meal replacement on the go kind of thing. So I've not really tapped into that kind of avenue that much yet, but I think I need to look for other things that can help me while I'm on the court. And I think same for when players are competing and playing in matches. I see like Novak eats dates and stuff like that on the court. Some people have fizzy drinks and things like that, a little bit of sugar spikes. But I think, yeah, I just need a bit more fuel to get me through my day.
Yeah, because I mean, that's a long work day, and even if you're not always hitting balls, you're feeding balls. Sometimes you're devising exercises. You're moving and you're standing. You're never pretty much sitting down for long stretches, right? So obviously, having some kind of like just meal replacement, just to add extra calories to your day, so you get some energy, but also making sure you're staying. You know, it's easy to get injured as a coach as well. People don't realize, like, because you're always there, you're always moving. Your body does get a bit tired, and then you maybe if you do a lunge for a ball, you're maybe a little bit more susceptible to some kind of injury as well, right? And also your I guess your elbow just being used a lot if you're hitting a lot. That, for example, is something you have to watch out.
Definitely. Yeah, that's when I take care of my recovery. That's something I've worked on a lot in years. Making sure that you stretch a lot, you massage, foam roll, things like that. Making sure even warming up. I mean, doing small things before your training sessions or even coaching, and then at the end of the day as well. It's like the little things to keep your body ticking. I find that if you are not to do something for, let's say, periods of time, then you feel the difference for sure. Like if I've had a busy week, let's say at Wimbledon, that week I wasn't able to stretch much. I wasn't able to have a good adequate sleep, so my body was feeling fatigued, and definitely felt it after that period.
Yeah, yeah. No, so you need to obviously take care of yourself. We talked before we started recording that about like you have some more traveling plans or you want to go traveling. Do you have something to share there, or like some thoughts you have that you need to be more active in going to certain events or just being out there on the tennis scene, kind of?
Yeah, definitely. I would love to visit academies in Spain. I think a lot of what they're doing is a lot of incredible things with a lot of their juniors and pros. I mean, I think I'll stick to Europe for the time being, but America would be a great part there. I have a lot of good friends there since I studied there as well. I think that would be a nice step to take, and then maybe even going further out to Asia as well. I think trying to meet coaches, academies, and individuals from different avenues and just get them to well, basically, I'll share their stories and learn different coaching methodologies and meet young juniors or current budding pros as well. I think that actually seeking those people to actually meet them and talk to them, I think I'll get a great idea for what they may be doing in order maybe to be successful in certain avenues. So if I can acquire knowledge and things from people globally, I think that will really help to elevate my own coaching. And yeah, I think I would love that opportunity as well to network with more people.
Yeah, it's always good. It's something I enjoy a lot when I'm traveling, like that I meet just people from all aspects of life, not only tennis, but other things as well. You get contacts, you meet friends, and it's a great way to be out and about. I think also when you had COVID for 2 to 3 years, it's also extra nice to feel like you're able to
Yes.
travel. And that was
Yeah.
yeah, it was tough for tennis
Are you?
players that period.
Yeah. Are you traveling anywhere
I've
in the
been
coming
now.
months then, or have you planned some more events?
I wanted to go to the US Open, but usually I can get some kind of press accreditation. But I was too late. I wasn't thinking that you needed to be 5 months ahead. So now I don't. Maybe I can
Oh,
sort out some
okay.
other way of going there, but it would be super nice to go there. Went to Paris, which we did together as well, and went there with Adidas as well, and
Very
um,
nice. Yes.
and a
Yes.
few events like Mallorca and Stuttgart, for example, the ATPs, and now the one in Sweden as well. So I've been to a few ATP events. It's quite,
Great.
energy consuming at times because you're actually working all the time and you're meeting tennis people. I'm sure when you go to Wimbledon, you have people coming up to you like, "Hey, you're Dylan," and then they want to
Yeah.
talk to you, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. A few people.
Yeah, which
But no, I think it's good. It's good to go to the tournaments and actually see the action live. I think I would love to do that more too, for sure. In years to come, I'll do that.
yeah, I think it's good. Partly you get like always. It's always fun to watch live tennis, but it's also the people you connect with there, and you get a little bit more behind the scenes of how much work are going into a coaching team or how the players prepare. If you're lucky enough to have some access or be close to them, you're seeing like how they work, and you obviously you can watch the practices, which I think is one of the most underrated things to see in a tennis
Hmm.
tournament. Is that you can actually be close to see how they practice and what they do to prepare for a match. It's obviously not the same practice as they do maybe during off season or a week off here and there, but most players seem to go and travel every week, And sometimes I wonder
Yeah.
how that life is when you have to go and you play one match, you lose, and then the next day you're on a flight to another tournament, and then you
Oh,
play in qualies
wow.
or whatever.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. I mean, the fast-paced life of a tennis professional, it's there's a lot of highs and lows. I mean, it's really, really rocky, and the small glimpse of what I experienced, it's for sure very, very tough, mentally, physically, everything. So I think actually seeing the players in action, I mean, we can appreciate the what they do and the level that they can perform at week in, week out.
Yeah, for sure. Having a Chinese background now, it seems like China is doing pretty well now in tennis. Like I mean,
Oh
in
yeah.
the among the latest, they've always been pretty good, or at least the last like 20 years or whatever. But now you also have like male players doing really well. Do you think that? I
Mm.
mean, that must obviously lead to some kind of growth for tennis also in other parts of the world, not only like Europe and US, which has been kind of the tradition.
Definitely. I think I have a few contacts in China actually, so I think that could be a cool avenue to experience. I think I'm British born, lived here basically my whole life, so I think actually venturing over there might be a very unique experience for what tennis would may be like over there. I don't know yet, so I think it might be something I should touch upon. But I think, yeah, I definitely think a lot of the Chinese players are definitely taking over right now, and I think we will see a lot more of them in many years to come. I think what we've seen so far is probably a glimpse of maybe the future talent that could arise.
Yeah, I mean that's the same with. I mean we have so many large countries that I think if they see any success, obviously that becomes like a inspiration for other generations. Then suddenly you're going to see a spike somewhere where players popping out. In Sweden, we have a low period of tennis because we had like our spike in the 80s, and now it's like you're seeing tennis have struggle a bit, not as a sport overall, but as like a way of getting ATP pros and WTA pros. There are a few, but it's not quite that common. But in some countries, maybe also in Middle East now with like Ons Jabeur, for example, doing so well, she inspires a lot
Yes.
of like Middle Eastern people that are not maybe traditionally a tennis culture to go back and to go and play tennis and to become tennis pros.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's it's amazing to see people from different backgrounds and things like that, and countries maybe you may not think that they have a big sporting prowess tennis background, and hopefully we can see more of that. I think that's very exciting. It just brings another dimension. You see in Spain. I mean, I can't remember the statistic, but the amount of Spanish tennis players that were in the top 100 was scary. I mean, there was at one point it must have been, yeah, like probably like 40 people or something like that, or something crazy. I mean, I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, I think they were doing a lot of things right, and maybe other countries have copied that. But yeah, also I think the federations of different countries, I get to understand and meet some of the higher up people in various countries to understand what they are doing differently to other countries, and seeing how that can make a difference on the growth of their young juniors and feeding into the pros, like Canadian tennis as well, how that was booming and still is. I mean, you're seeing a lot of young juniors from there have arisen now to being top 100 players too.
Yeah, and then having that extra, like that extra kind of a star of some kind. Like I don't know if it started with Milos Raonic or, but now you have Chapo, you have Aliassime, you have
Yeah,
Bianca
Martinez, yeah.
Andreescu, you have quite a lot of players from there, and then obviously that becomes like a snowball in motion. So it's then you start having more and more players from under as well. I think we've seen that in Italy, for example. We had Berrettini, we have
Oh
Musetti,
yes, yes.
but there's now Arnaldi and so many good players, Cobolli coming up.
Very exciting. Very exciting. I cannot wait to see. I mean, that's the great thing about it. When maybe some players do very well and from a country that's maybe needing that little boost, I think then the rest of the country rallies behind them and puts more funding into the sport. So yeah, can't wait.
What do you think of British tennis? Do you see any? Now we have some maybe promising stars. Do you think British tennis are in for a world, at least a top 10 player in near future?
Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. I think I've been around a lot of the young juniors and even watching some of them at, let's say, Junior Wimbledon, for example, some of the girls, and they're very promising. They're only 14 years old, even 14, 15 years old, but you can already tell like the qualities that they have. I mean, there's a girl, Isabel Lacey. She was already beating top 100 players. I think she's about 16 years old, possibly.
Wow.
Hannah Klugerman, 14 years old, made her and Isabel Lacey were runners up at Junior Wimbledon. So, I mean, those are two to name a few that are already making big waves, I guess, in the tennis world. And I think, likewise, I think boys as well, British tennis is in a good place. And I think, yeah, definitely piecing together a lot more things now. I think personally, I've always played in the LTA. I didn't actually play through the different stages of the balls, but I think that was a great progression for someone even like Emma Raducanu. there was, you may have seen that video, Emma Raducanu and Sunny Cartel. They were playing an orange ball at 9 years old on a three-quarter size court. And you can already see like the athleticism, the movement, the quality of striking, the technique, everything was there, but it was just on a smaller size court. So I think the British tennis are doing very well at that because it's just a smaller glimpse of what it would be like on a bigger stage. And they're just going through the progressions a lot smoother as opposed to just rushing and jumping into, okay, let's go big court straight away. Let's go big size racket. Let's go heavy loopy ball straight away. And I mean, if you go through the natural progressions of these various different balls, it actually really helps the juniors to progress correctly and reduce or mitigate any chances of injuries as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think the nature of tennis is quite taxing. So if you can find a way to smoothen that curve while your body is growing and changing, I think makes a lot of sense. But sometimes you see that they want to just snowball straight. I mean, when I used to live in Malta, people used to come, young, very promising players used to be like, hey, 13, 12, and they been playing a long time with a pure drive strung at 28 kilos, and you're like, okay. And the elbow issues came, for example, in that sense, like because it's like they're playing heavy balls,
Definitely. Oh,
overplaying, and with a very stiff setup, right? So it's
yeah, and your grip as well. I think that's what I've seen a lot. I mean, Spanish players, notably. I mean, not so much French I've seen, but German, yeah. I mean, the grip, yeah, slides around further. I mean, when the ball's rising above your head and you're only yay tall, I mean, how can you deal with that? Your grip just slides around naturally. So I think, yeah, going through the right progressions will definitely help for sure.
Do you work? You have a mix of the students, or do you have certain players you work with like every week, a number of times? But you'd have kids groups, or do you have like usually only private lessons when you coach?
Yeah, so well, at the club that I'm at, David Lloyd's, we're committed to doing 8 hours towards the club every single week. We do work 50 weeks of the year actually, so it's a heavy schedule. So I'm committed to do those 8 hours towards the club in order to be able to coach and do individual lessons and such. But you do get paid for groups as well. I would say though, yeah, I have a balance. I have tots, so 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 year olds, and then I have the women's team training as well every Monday. So I have 12 ladies that I would run different training sessions. So yeah, I have a real balance of ages and abilities. And I think that's fun. That's what keeps me energized and keeps me on my toes, definitely. I mean, 1 hour you're working with the ladies team, teaching them how to do intercepting volleys, and then next you're teaching kids how to catch a ball. It's very different. So it's a lot of good fun and something I enjoy a lot too.
When you played on, I mean, you played D1 college. How was that experience to play? I mean, some players love college. Some thought it was too much tennis. I have friends that quit tennis due to college, but mainly I hear positive things. What's been your experience with the college in US?
I think it's incredible. I think if I were to send kids to either go pro or college, I think unless if you're at that high of a level in order to let's say make it as a professional, I think still the college route is necessary. I think America definitely have it very set in stone. I mean, we've seen the likes of, let's say, like the Chris Eubanks as one of the most recent guys, and Ben Shelton. These guys have absolutely dominated the tennis world right now, and they've all come from college tennis. I think you learn to be more professional, you learn to grow up, and you have friends with you as well. I think there's nothing that beats that college tennis spirit and actually getting a degree alongside as well. So you have a backup. Um, I mean, you never know what can happen in life, financially, health wise. So I think having the security of having a degree as well alongside your tennis, you will have a backup, no doubt. And that's where I see college tennis in America as being one of the front runners that I would advocate for. And same with British tennis. I played British tennis in UK in the top division. And then you're getting ex-ATP professionals playing. They've come to do their masters. A guy from New Zealand, and he's X400 in the world. So you get a real mix of players and abilities. But I think America has just done that even a bit better there. And I mean, you're even able to get paid now when you go and play futures tournaments, so you can actually make money and play pro. And then if you're good enough to play pro, you can then leave America to literally pursue being professional. So I think that it's a win-win, honestly. Even if I've seen players like Cameron Norrie doing a few years at TCU and then wanting to go pro because he has the level. He's number one college in America, and he has that experience of playing matches week in, week out, having a strict training schedule, and having someone to always have an eye on you, basically. Yeah.
And also, I think when you take off the pressure of like, I have to succeed at this thing because this is my passion, my only job, really, that I foresee. And if you take that away and you say, okay, I mean, I have the backup on the education. I can go and have a normal job, or I can become a tennis coach. You maybe feel a little bit more less pressured, and you play better.
Yeah.
I've seen that at least in other sports as well, where you feel like you have that backup, that foundation of something else. You feel more secure in yourself. You don't have to put everything on the court, and then you have an injury, and it's like a horrible thing. You know, your whole life falls apart.
Definitely. I think also playing professional tennis, you can't play professional tennis. Well, not everyone can play professional tennis for 20 years or so. I mean, I don't know. Do you know the span of what a pro would play at on average? It's probably not.
Not that long.
I don't think it's not more than 10 years, no doubt, right? So think about how much money you can make from playing professional tennis. I mean, if you're top 200, 150 in the world, let's say. I mean, there's probably better facts out there. But yeah, if you want to pursue something else long term, at least, yeah, you have the security. That's the biggest thing, I think. And like you said, in the back of your mind, Jonas, you have that in mind that even if I don't make it as a top professional, or even if I play pro for X amount of years, I can fall back on other avenues and not be too worried about that happening, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's good to always think about life like that you have a little bit of a backup. I mean, some players maybe feel better when they just go all in and they have to do it, and there's no distraction. Like, I mean, some people are easily distracted or feel like they don't put in everything to their training schedule or whatever. But I think it's generally a wise idea. And you have seen so many pros from U.S. college, for example, they succeed, and then then they also have the backup. So it's a win-win, as you said, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's, I think, yeah, like I said, if I were to get anyone that's at a good standard, I would probably push them down the route of go to university, but play college tennis. And then we can really see your level from there. And that'd be a good standpoint.
Yeah. So what's your normal day looking like? Do you start really early? And do you finish late? How does it look?
Summertime, it varies, but usually, weekends are very busy. I usually do 10 hours on Saturday, 10 hours Sunday, 8 to 6. I have usually about 20-minute gap in between to post my video,
Wow.
eat some food. Usually client from 8 a.m. groups till 12, and then, usually from 12 to 6 or 11 on Sunday to 6. So heavy weekend of work. And Monday's another heavy day. And then Tuesday to Thursday, it really varies. I mean, sometimes I might do 4 hours in a day. Sometimes I might do 8 hours in a day. Friday, I've made my day off. And Wednesday afternoons vary. Sometimes I just film some videos, like YouTube videos now, or I edit. So my Wednesday afternoons are a bit more flexible as well. But I love being close to the tennis court, let's say.
And you're pretty close. You're like 10 minutes because of our technical issues we had today. You could drive home and you were suddenly there.
Whiz back home. That's right. So it's very handy. And I'll probably always live pretty close to a tennis court.
I think that's a thing you cannot underestimate, to have easy access to tennis courts. Like, I think that's anywhere in the world. Like, if you want people to actually play tennis, you need to have accessible courts to actually just see tennis. People play tennis. Look, that looks fun. Maybe we should try. And then even as a small kid, I think that makes a lot of sense to have tennis visible. And we've lost some of that in Sweden because some of the public courts, they're not used anymore. They're decrepit, or there's something has happened to them. while I think you have a bit more public courts maybe in the UK, but then you have the weather against you.
Yeah. Yeah, true. That's right. I mean, our courts are like tarmac or astro,
Yeah.
so not natural tennis courts. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I have a park down the road where I first started. It's literally 5 minute walk. So a lot of parks close by with accessible tennis courts. So yeah, it's definitely flourishing here over here for sure.
Yeah, that's good. That's very good. When it comes to, I have to ask you the question about rackets and stuff because that's some of the listeners definitely want me to do that. So, what do you? I
Yes,
think you
sure.
play with a Pure Drive. Am I correct?
That's right. 300 grams, 1619 string pattern. And I'm currently using, I think you tried it as well. We spoke about the caviar strings
Yeah, I
from
really like that
Proline.
one. It's very quite soft, but
So
it's still spinny friendly, right?
yeah, yeah, they're very durable as well. I found, and yeah, I mean you can't beat that bright fluorescent yellow color as well. So no, big fan of the Pure Drives. But yeah, I'm going through a lot of trialing and testing right now. I've tried the Wilson Blades. I mean, I have the Pro Staffs as well. Artengo. I have a few rackets from them that might be coming out in the next few weeks, and then Wilson Shift. So I think, well, yeah, well, actually, I did try a Technofiber racket as well. So I think I'm willing to trial a lot more rackets. I'm not since I'm not playing professional or anything like that. So I think it's interesting to experience different rackets. I think I haven't done that so much in the past. I've usually just stuck with one. But yeah, maybe if I did try a different racket, it could be a little bit different.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
know. Also,
Yeah.
you get different sensations, so it's depending on what you like, you know. And obviously, coming from the Pure Drive, you want power and some spin for your game to feel at home. But what's your experience, for example, trying a low-powered racket like a Pro Staff or a Blade? Do you feel like completely off your game, or like did it feels unnatural to you, or how does that feel?
I think when I swing at full speeds, I get great control, and I feel a lot more comfortable when serving and playing the feel shots, the volleys, the slices, and drop shots. But I find it quite difficult when I'm at the baseline, just striking and trading. I find that I need to put a lot more weight into my shots. I think I did use what is the head prestige? I used to use that actually because my coach used to use that, and I said, oh, since he's using it, I'm going to try it. And I think I was 13 years old, and I was like, oh, this feels tough to play with. So I prefer definitely like the bigger sweet spot rackets, a bit more power. I used to use the Babolat Aero. I would love to try the Carlos, the Aero 98. Have you tried that before?
Yeah, yeah, it's a very good racket. I think like a lot of advanced players who played pro that I've hung out with or we hit here in Spain. When I bring out like a bunch of rackets from different brands, that's one of the winners. Like they just like that mix
Really?
because for the head size, it gives you impressive power, you know, and the spin is very good, right? So you'd think that it's
Mm,
98, 16, 20. You think, okay, it's going to be very controlled, but it's far more powerful than a blade, for example, or a head radical or something like that. So you do get quite
I
a lot
see.
of pace, but you feel a bit more, if you play with enough spin, you feel like you can definitely control the ball a bit better. So I think there's a reason why it's so
Nice.
popular, right?
And also, Alcaraz is using it. Holger Rune, um, and is Felix using it as well?
He's using an older version, which is a little bit different, but it's yeah, it's very similar. Arthur Fils,
Okay.
for example, I think is using it as well. The new talented Frenchman
Yes. Yes.
who
Oh yeah. Yeah.
he beat Rude the
Yeah.
other day, like big
He
time.
beat him bad.
Yeah.
He beat him bad. Yeah. He's playing Zverev now, I believe. Yeah. I think. Yeah. No. It's obviously a very popular racket. I would love to try that too. But no, good to hear your thoughts about it as well.
Do you watch a lot of tennis? Like, do you keep up with the matches? Because I mean, if you're on the court for so many hours, it's gotta be like draining to go home and be like, ah, I don't want to watch any tennis today. I'm like sick
I
of it.
love I love watching highlights and things like that. I watch a lot of them on tennis TV. TV. I watch. Yeah, I like to stay up to date with the players as well, and I feel that's quite nice to see. I saw Kai Nishikori actually. He lost, but no, he's making a comeback as well. It was so nice to see so many of the ex pros that were like top 10 before, and now they've come back, and we still have Murray playing as well. So yeah, no, I try to stay up to date. I'd say though I don't watch that much tennis. Uh, yeah, due to the schedule and things like that. But for sure, yeah, I'd like to visit more tournaments. Maybe we'll meet up again in another tournament, I'm sure.
Yeah, we will. I'm sure we will. I think tennis is such a good networking point. I think like tennis players are generally easygoing and pretty, easy to get to know people, So I think that's been a good thing for me to go from more kind of working in business centered things and then going to tennis where it's more of a community. I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's very sociable as well. And you meet some people from very cool different backgrounds as well in the tennis world.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody seems to, and it's also like it's one of those sports where, when the passion hits you, it hits you quite hard. So you find a lot of people that are quite new to tennis, maybe that just like they can't stop thinking about tennis. It's all tennis, 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 tennis. It doesn't matter if they're CEO of a big company or whatever. They just like seem to be when they're not working or with their family, whatever. They're like, oh, tennis is tennis.
Oh, I've met many, many, many people like that actually. Yeah, the tennis bug.
Yeah, tennis bug hits you. It hits you quite hard, which I think is fun. So it's a sport that definitely has huge potential to capture people. Sometimes I find like that it's so difficult to learn, and maybe this is something you've noticed as well. Like if you when you're coaching, let's say not complete beginners, but whether they're quite new to tennis. Do you have any tips and tricks? Like, how do you get over that hump that they can actually start maybe having more fun with tennis? Because the fun starts when you start rallying properly, right? One guy had the idea of having weaker players or intermediates, lower level intermediate players play with, for example, green balls, like the green dot balls, just to make sure.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
yes, yes. Even orange balls. Or have you tried playing like when people play touch tennis, sponge balls as well? I mean, yeah, if you play with softer balls, it just gives people more time.
Yep.
I mean, let's say the ball bounce is 25% slower. You're able to adequately put your feet in the right place, stick your racket out, and swing. And I think, having a lot of different peers as well to play with makes it a lot more fun. I think if you're going solo to various different groups and you're like, oh, I'm not good enough to play with this person, then it's kind of like you don't have anyone to bounce off ideas or you're going through the emotions of this is very difficult. Like you're with a group of people. So we have a nice balance at my club for sure with that, and to make it more welcoming.
Yeah, it's nice. It should be like that. It should be like that because it can be daunting to play tennis with if you're a new person and you're in a group where you're playing mixed in doubles, and then you let down your partner and you feel like, oh, I'm playing terrible, and you don't want to be through that because tennis can be quite embarrassing. You're like alone on a big court and it's like people maybe watching or walking by. It's a lot of people can struggle with I think that experience,
Yeah, no, it can be, but I think it's nice. You got to make it as welcoming as possible and as fun as possible.
That's great. I actually have a dinner I need to go to now. So
no worries. No, it's been really nice speaking to you, Jonas, and I'm sure we'll catch up very soon too.
Yeah, we should for sure. Yeah, keep in touch. I keep in touch with Ashley as well.
Yes,
for the listeners, we all met in Paris, and it's fun when you've seen people like fellow content creators on social media, and then you actually meet them in real life, and they're nice people. It's always a good experience, and then you can keep in touch.
Yeah, we had a fun evening, didn't we?
Yeah, it was interesting for sure. You played with one of the biggest Chinese stars on a concrete court, so it was a bit different.
Yeah. That was a good laugh, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, it's always interesting with these events. You never know what you're gonna get until you get there. So that's the fun part. You're like, okay, what's happening here? I have no idea. You just invited, and then you see what happens.
That's right. On the spot. No, but have a lovely dinner, and Jonas, it's been great speaking to you.
Same to you. Have a nice day.
Definitely. You too, mate.